Hey everybody, what's going on? Hope you guys are doing good. I am doing just great. So I have a different body blank sitting in front of me. This is a body blank that I bought back in 2022. I've been sitting on it for a while. It should be pretty much dried, to be able to build something out of this. So I'm figuring that I'm going to use the Telecaster template and put it on top of this and get started with the outlining and measurements and everything else that I need to do in order to start getting this thing set up to be cut on a router and become a guitar body. Alright, so what I want to do is measure this body blank in order to accept the template that I want to put on here. The only problem with this body blank here is the African mahogany that's on this side is wider than it is on this side. So these two are not equal with each other, which causes a problem if you measure from outside to outside to find out what center is. That's going to be wrong. So your template is going to be, or your center line is going to be drifted off to one side a little bit, and I don't want that. I want the template to sit perfectly in the middle of this swamp ash so it's uniformed on both sides as far as having a small strip of the African mahogany on the outside edges. Now the top of this, when I end up doing the not really finishing work, I'm going to put a veneer on top of this. I'm not sure which one I've got that I'm going to put on here, but I'm going to do a veneer top on this. And I also am going to not make this a traditional Telecaster sort of say. The shape of it's going to be about the same, but there's going to be some differences, and probably I'm going to go with the electronics and being the difference. So what I do need to do is measure this. Measuring from outside to outside is out of the question, so I have to measure this center board here. And one of the things that I'm going to need is a caliper, and you turn the caliper on. What I want to do is zero out the caliper, so before zeroing, always clean or wipe off the edges that touch each other. That way you can get a perfect, like right now, see I'm a -5, so that means there was some dirt on here. And I could zero that out right now, and now I'm perfectly zero. And just to make sure, close it, I'm back to zero. So I want to measure the center board to find out what the center is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up putting one point and not pushing on that point to make a hole or dig into the wood, but just set it on top, making sure that it is right on the edge. There's no lip here. This is all flat. There's no lip that I can put this on, and there's no lip on the edge of the board either to determine where I need to put one point to the other point. So I'm going to put this right on the edge there and right on the edge here. I can kind of see a little bit of a shadow of the edge, so I'm going to move it over just a hair. And we are looking at a 2.505, so it's a little bit over 2.5 inches. That's on this side. And this side here, I put the tip right in the same spot. I am exactly the same. So half of that is going to be an inch, 1.252, 1.252. Yep, a little bit over. 252.5. I want 252. Oh, a little bit too much. Alright, so I'm going to lock that down now. Get my pencil, not a pen. Make sure the pencil is got a nice tip to it. Nice sharp tip. And let's see here. Put that right on my edge, where I want it to be, and then mark center here, and then make sure that I'm still center on the other side. Okay, I'm good with that. And let's go over here. Alright, so I am center on both ends. There's my center circle. There's my center circle. The problem with using a pen or a pencil on any type of wood, regardless of how hard that wood is, you can leave a dent in the wood, which, I mean, obviously I'm going to end up sanding this top down and the back of it as well, but that mark may still be there. You won't really see it, but once you get paint on it and stuff like that and start moving around in the light, you may see the indentation from that. So now I need to get my ruler. I've got a nice straight edge here that I picked up, and this is a Master Force from Menards. It's got a nice gripping back on it. It's got like a almost like a silicone web type design on the back of it, and it sits pretty nice. I can also use this for measuring the scale length as far as the neck goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this right on top of that line, put my pencil on that line so I know that, or that dot that I made, so I know that when I go from side to side with it, I'm going to be on top of that mark that I made. So this side here, I'm going to be the same thing. Make sure that I'm going to be on that mark. That one. So I need to be moved over this a little bit. Testing it, see where I'm at. Move it over just a little bit. Now I'm not putting pressure on the pencil, I'm letting the lead scrape itself onto the wood. So there's my center line. Now I could recheck it just to make sure. What did I say it was? An inch, 1 inch, 252. 1 inch. 2.5. Oops, too far. You know, measure 100 times and cut once, right? That's usually how this works with trying to do anything with wood. Alright, so I'm right there, and I am center on that line. Center on that line. And what I'm looking for is the point of this right on the edge of the wood. The point of this right in the center of the line that I just made. And that's where I'm at. Alright. Alright, so I have to find some way to mount this template to the body blank using the center line of the blank to match up with the center line that's going across the template. Now, that's pretty easy. That's not too hard. Just lining up two lines, right? But as soon as you let go or, you know, kind of like do something with the template may drift. So it's going to be a little bit difficult. Like I said, measure 100 times, cut once, right? So I have the template pretty much close to where I'm going to be at. I still have to go back and eyeball it before I actually do any punching or drilling. So how am I going to mark this hole and this hole here into the template without being off a little bit, or, you know, not, because if you're off and this is kind of crooked and you mount it that way, well, these lines are not going to look right. I could use a pencil, but the diameter of the pencil is not exactly the diameter of this hole, so I can either be off to one side of the line or on that center line, whatever. So what I'm going to use is a couple of different things that I could do here. I can either use a drill bit that has a pointed tip. I don't know if you can see that or not, but even those aren't accurate. So if you look at it this way, if I can get it to zoom, go focus in on it, if I can get it to look at that way, that tip looks like it's pretty much even in the center of that. But if I tilt it this way, well, now it does not look like it's in center. So that's out of the question. Those are good for drilling, but not good for using as a punch. I could use this reamer here that's got a nice sharp point that'll indent this wood with no problems. My other tool that I have that's a part of this set that's just a regular punch, well, the diameter of the punch doesn't fit these holes, so that could make me drift from one side to the other, and so can this, because this doesn't fit the hole exactly either. I don't want to be drifting from one side to the other. Or I can use a drill bit that is the exact same size as that hole that's on the template, and it'll leave a divot right where it needs to be mounted. Now what I could do is I could take an old drill bit that I have and take it to the grinder and kind of make that tip a little bit more sharper, a little bit more narrower, but leave some of the how wide this is alone, so the diameter still fits in this hole. I could do that too, but this way will work just fine. So what I'm going to do is even up the template on top of that line, and again, measure 100 times and cut once. So I've got that one in its spot. I'm going to go ahead and set this in the hole, and as you can see, it's the same diameter. And I'm just going to tap it a few times, leaving an indentation. Pick it up, turn it, and that's going to leave me a nice indentation into the wood. Go back on this side. This side's okay. Do the same thing. Pick this up. Now when I'm turning this the opposite direction of the cutting portion of the drill bit. This way I'm not cutting the hole or changing the diameter of the hole in this template. Alright, so this should give me right in center and right in center of my line right there. Those are the two spots where I need to drill. So let me go put this drill bit away and everything else that I have here away. Now I'm going to take this, and again, this is not a hole punch, this is a reamer. It makes holes a little bit bigger than what they are, but it has a nice point to it. And I'm going to go right where that mark is, and I'm just going to kind of tap it. Now that'll give me a guide for where the drill bit has to go in order to pre-drill these holes for mounting the template. Alright, let's put these tools away. Alright, so now it's time to start putting some holes in this nice piece of wood. So one of the things that I've been doing with some of these templates is I've been kind of countersinking the heads of the screws into the template. This way I have a nice flat surface for the router to ride when I'm cutting out either the pickup cavities or anything else that I need to cut out, and I have to leave the template on the body. So what I've got going on right now is I have a countersinking drill bit over here, and what I want to do is kind of make the hole, top of the hole diameter a little bit wider in order for the head to sit nice and flush. So I'm going to do that right now. Now I'm watching the speed because I don't want this thing to kind of carry away on me, and it needs to go down just a little bit more. I've already picked the screws that I'm going to use to mount this. Alright, that's nice and flush. Actually, it's a little bit sunken in. Now I'm going to go to this side and do the same thing. Now you can see I'm not doing this on top of the board because I don't want the tip of this to cut into the wood. So I just want to kind of let the bit do the work, not putting any pressure on the drill itself. This way you're not going to drift from one side to the other side. And that needs just a little bit more. And I'm nice and flush. Alright, so that's that. Now I need to pick the diameter of the drill bit for the screws that I'm going to be using to put the template in place. Put this back where it was, which I already have that right here. Can't see the size of it anymore because I think it was written on the side. My glasses, I can't tell anyways. So what I got here is a couple of small screws, and a small drill bit. Basically what I end up doing is putting the two together, and if I can see the threads on the other side of the drill bit, then that's the drill I'm going to be using. So this is kind of important right now because you don't want to go off on an angle. You want to kind of make sure that this is pretty much square and sitting nice, because if you're off too far on an angle when doing this, you can cause a problem where the screw is going to go on an angle, and that can shift your template over. So what I'm doing is putting this right on top of there. I'm going to look at it from the sides, look at it from this side. And then reverse it out. So now I go to this one. Looks like I'm straight here. Looks like I'm straight up and down here. That should be those two holes right there. Put my template on here. Get rid of these inserts. I'm not going to be using them right now for anything, and I won't be using this one at all. Alright. Now these screws I'm going to use by hand. Because I don't want to over tighten them too tight, to where it either splits the wood or has some type of an issue with that. I don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and locate the hole. Make sure I'm going in straight, which it looks like it's going in pretty good. Make sure that when I screw this down, so I'm going to shift my straight line over to one side. So the template is now secured. The heads of the screw are kind of like flush with the template. Actually, they're down a little bit further than the template, which makes it even better because there's nothing to hook onto here. So now I want to take and start doing my outlining as far as the overall rough cut that I'm going to be doing with the jigsaw to cut out this shape. Now, the reason why I went with this piece of wood too is also the waste of material. This piece of wood here really doesn't have that much waste to it, unlike the other one. The other one is good for like doing a like the Star guitar, and I may make another one of those. So all right, so here we are with the template. Now I want my black magic marker, and what I want to do is I want to give it a rough outline of what this body is without going too far away from the edge of the template, giving me a so-called a lot of material to remove with the routing. So this I'm going to end up just putting right using the tip. Now this template gives you a little bit of a flat spot and tells you exactly where your jack location is going to be. I don't like that flat spot, so I'm going to find a way to round that off when I go over this with the router with the template on there. I got to make sure that I don't get this part here and end up pushing too much. I'm going to leave a little bit of meat there, and I'll just sand it round. So I'm going to go over this one more time to make sure I have a nice dark solid cutting line. So I should be able to see this with no problems when I'm cutting it on the jigsaw. Alright, that's it. Now I need to remove these guys. Alright, see if this bit fits in there pretty good. No, it's too big. A smaller bit, and I'm going to remove those screws. Don't you go away. Make sure this is reversed, and I'm going to go slow with it, because if you end up going too fast, you could break the head off the screw. There we go. And now I have my template. Alright, so now I am basically ready for the rough cutout before routing, and that I have to go upstairs for. Alright, I'm back, and we finally have a Telecaster body routed out of a nice slab of wood. So a couple things I want to do right now before I remove this template is I want to outline the area where the pickups are going to be. I have an idea of what I'm going to do with this, so it's going to be different than what a normal Telecaster is going to be. So I will have a what would be a single coil, but it's not going to be, pickup in the neck position. But I am not going to go with the weird looking, crown shaped plate pickup that would normally go on a Telecaster at the bridge position. This is going to get another style of a pickup. So what I've got going on here is I want to trace this so I know where the pickup location is, and I also have my straight line going across underneath the body itself, or underneath the template across the body. So I'm going to remove this template and take a look at the routing job of how this came out before I start doing any more work to it. Alright, so take a look at this. Okay, so we have a nice guitar body here. So again, I wanted to be careful with how I put the neck area and being perfectly centered with the body itself in order to have a nice small piece of the mahogany, well, the African mahogany on each side over here, giving it a nice uniform look on both sides. So came out pretty good, came out pretty nice. I'm really happy with this. The routing job came out really nice as far as the edges go. I do have to sand it because you can feel the cross grain over here, but this has got some real nice, very nice figuring in the wood itself, to where the back and the sides are going to be left pretty much natural. I might hit it with a die, but only on these pieces here, not these center pieces here. Kind of like what I did with the, what did I call it, the Les Strat guitar, which is up on eBay right now, and I'll be doing a test with that for a sound test. You might be surprised with a Les Paul body and a Strat style pickups, electronics on there, of how that sounds, because it actually kind of surprised me of how it sounds. And having the split coils on there just gives it that much more of a Telecaster sound, or not Telecaster, Strat sound. Sorry about that. Alright, so this is going to be ready for doing some sanding and then some routing. Now, I think I'm going to do the routing first and then do the sanding. So I'm going to call this the Wilkinson's Telecaster, okay? I have parts over here, like this bridge here, that I was going to use. I have another bridge over here that I was thinking about using. They're both 54 millimeters string length distance from E to E. And yeah, I'm not going to go that route. I got a Wilkinson's bridge coming that is the same thing, basically 54 millimeters from E to E. And so it has the same string spacing. And I've got Wilkinson's pickups coming, plus Wilkinson's locking tuners coming for the neck. So this is going to be pretty much the Wilkinson's Telecaster. Now, I have to go through my collection of veneers and see what I want to put on this. So I'm not quite sure if I should veneer this first, then do all my cutting and routing, or do my routing and cutting first and then veneer this. So I'm not quite sure of how I'm going to do this yet, but however I do it, that center line of the veneer where the two pieces are going to go, that has to be perfect, and it has to be right on that line before I do any gluing or anything else with it. Sanding this down can wait around the edges until I get the veneer down. This way I can sand the veneer edges down with the body itself. And like I said, I got some little bit of burning that happened with the router, but not much, not a big deal, and it feels real nice. But yeah, so this is going to work out pretty good. And then the thickness of this, I gotta kind of narrow that down a little bit. I'm also going to put over here kind of like a Strat body would have with an armrest on it, so that's going to be narrowed down. I'm going to do a belly cut over here. I decided to, instead of rounding this area off over here because of the style of output jack, it has to be mounted to a flat area, so I used the template flat area over here and left this part the way it is on the template. Next thing to do is just to go, and I've got like a very large collection of veneers that I want to try to put on this thing to see what will look good. I have a couple of quilted maple veneers. I have a couple of flame maple veneers. I also have some exotic wood veneers that I ended up picking up through another company that came in a very, very large roll of just different styles of it. So I want to see what would go on this and kind of match this outside, or not outside, but these two pieces of the mahogany that's on here. I gotta sand this pretty good because there's some texture in the mahogany, not so much on this side, but on the back of it I have to make sure that this texturing kind of goes away. It looks kind of like, I don't know if it was ran through a machine that gripped this area over here, but it's not. It's actually just the wood itself. So yeah, this came out really nice. I have a little bit of a spot over here that I'm going to have to fill right there on that side. So what I want to do is put some wood shavings inside there and fill it with some CA glue to get that to look really nice. But yeah, ready for the next steps. Oh, also I will be doing the drawing for the winner of my Christmas 2004 giveaway, so stay tuned for that. That'll be a next video coming up. All right guys, take it easy, have a good one. I'm going to go through some veneer and see what I will put on here.